All right, everybody, thank you so much for making your way into our March 2025 meetup. This is the first meetup of this year, and we got some exciting workshop for you. This is also one of the meetups where we have the largest number of signups. 260 people said they'll be coming in. So we're just hoping not everybody turns up because we won't have space for them, and no pizzas either. So good, you guys are first come, first served basis. You guys have made your way in, and girls and people. There are some spaces, some seats I can see. They're free. If you want to have a look around, find those places to sit, that would be great. We have a team of people with us today who's making this happen. Interestingly, this is also our first event that we are formally live streaming right now on our YouTube channel. We have Ahmed with us, who's set up all his funky electronics, camera, and lots of other stuff I don't understand. He just spent last 2 weeks to get this working, and we're hoping if this thing goes well, we'll be doing it more of this in the future. I have with me Mariana over here, my co-organizer today, and we have more volunteers around. We'll just go over their names, etc., in the slides. So let's begin. So first of all, as we do as a protocol, who are we? We are a volunteer-run non-profit organization. That means none of us get paid for this. We just do it because we like to share information, and we believe in the idea that technology and technology-related information and knowledge should be shared, and that's how we all learn from each other. I learned something from you, you learned something from me, and that's how the world goes around. So I'm going to read this from the slide. We're a volunteer-run non-profit corporation that aims to support all in their journey to learn and share their passion for JavaScript, and by extension, software development and design. We have a code of conduct, which is always in effect on all our events, online or in person. So that code of conduct is in effect right now. We, of course, don't tolerate any abuse or any untoward behavior. If you feel you're uncomfortable with someone or some activity and you want to reach out to us and report it, you have an email on this page, and the code of conduct itself is listed on the page. Feel free to look at it and help us make this community a welcoming and comfortable place for everyone. Today's tech workshop is called Bringing Animation to Life. We have Karine with us, who will be joining us shortly. Karine is from Lottie Files, and we'll be talking about how to do animation with Lottie Files and JavaScript. So you learn how to integrate dotLottie animation into your projects and take them beyond just static visuals. And I'm pretty sure these are not videos, so you'll be saving a lot on bandwidth as well. So I'm excited for this. And I'm pretty sure looking at the RSVP numbers, a lot of people are excited as well. At this point, I want to thank our sponsors. First of all, super.com for consistently giving us this space. People who have been here second time or third time, they know that for the past few years, we have been coming here consistently. So I want to be really thankful to super.com for supporting us with this space. We have more sponsors we want to thank, and I'm going to read a bit about them to talk about what they do. So starting with super.com, it's a travel super app, and everything and anything you want to do with travel, it's available on super.com. Of course, if you want to learn more, go to super.com and check them out. Next, Sanity. Their website is sanity.io, and in their own words, it's a content operating system. So it's a fully customizable all-code backend for content-driven websites and apps for the builders and creators. Okay, and last but not the least, I want to talk about Dragonfly DB, and it's in their own word. Dragonfly DB is a drop-in Redis replacement, but not a fork, built from scratch for modern cloud workloads. With the brand new architecture, it delivers 25 times higher throughput, 12 times lower latency, and up to 80% lower costs. Dragonfly DB simplifies operations while remaining fully compatible with Redis APIs and tools. No code changes needed if you ever decide to give it a try. So just do a Google search. I think it's dragonflydb.io.com. I don't remember, but yeah, they're pretty prominent. You search for Dragonfly DB on Google, it'll turn up. So thanks a lot to them. Because of folks like Dragonfly, DB, Sanity, and super.com, we're able to meet here, eat here, and have some fun. Next, about us, I'll let Mariana take over.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, take that.
Thank you. We're streaming here.
Yes.
So, hi everyone, I'm Marianne. I'm really glad to be here today organizing this amazing event. So I just want to talk a little bit about Toronto.js, who we are. Like, we are organizing a lot of cool in-person events like this one, and also virtual events, tech talks. So we have some numbers, like we are on Meetup, we are on Guild. So if you guys are not on Slack yet, you can join us there. We are like always talking about technology, development, and also most recently design, because I'm a designer actually. But anyways, so guys, so a little bit about me. So as I said, like I'm a designer, but I also worked as a web developer in the past, like for marketing agencies. And so I'm part of the design team for the design team. And so I want to say thank you to all volunteers that are here today. Aman, me, and Marco, Kadu, Manny, Christina over there taking beautiful pictures, Divish, Robert, and Mike. Thank you so much, guys, for making this happening today. So yeah, and then for today's agenda, sorry guys, we are running a little bit behind the schedule, but we are going to get there. So we are going to get the workshop starting soon. We are going to have like the Q&A session for you guys, like can ask all questions about the workshop. And also we have some little time for workshopping, and then we are good. We are good to go home at 9 p.m. Okay, so I want to invite, like, if someone is interested in volunteering as well, like to help in the next events, you feel free to scan this QR code that's gonna lead you to the Toronto.js website, and there's a link there where you can join us on Slack. So you're gonna know, like, first thing about the next events, and not just that, we are like having some projects. We are volunteering in creating some nice projects to learn together, like the volunteer management platform that I'm also working with this as well. So you can join us, and then we can keep the conversation going there. Okay, that's all for today. Let's get this workshop starting.
Yeah, before that, I'll have some quick things to learn from you. The reason we are able to operate as a nonprofit community is you all. You all become speakers, you all become attendees, some of you end up becoming sponsors. That's the whole reason and how we're able to run. So I'm trying to ask some questions, and I would ask you to raise your hands as answers to those questions. And this is in order to learn about you, so we can tailor the events and talks that we do. So we'll be asking things like, how many years of experience do you have? Are you a student? Is it your first event? Blah, blah, blah. I'll ask some volunteer to record this from the background so that none of your faces come up. But when you raise your hands, we'll be able to see how many people raised their hands in answer to our question. Okay? So first thing, how many people are coming here for the first time? Good. Now, how many people are coming here for like second or more? Like, have you been here before? How many people are there? Okay, that's good. Now, in terms of understanding your technical background, how many of you would define yourself as programmer or programming related professional? All right, perfect. And in terms of experience, how many of you would say you are under 2 years experience professionally? All right. Anybody under 5 years experience, 2 to 5 years? Okay. Anybody beyond 5 years experience? All right, perfect. Anybody still a student? Don't be shy, not your class. Great, thank you. That's all I wanted to know. And I'm the only person standing between you and Crane. So we'll just get her set up and we'll start with the event. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Falou demais, cara. A gente tá atrasado. Tô começando a dar um nervoso. Tudo transcorrido normal. Verdade, verdade.
Okay. Cool. Does this work? Hello? Can you guys hear me? Yes. All right. Let me just do the thing. Ooh, sorry. Okay. Great. How's everybody doing today? We're doing good? All right. So we're all here today to discuss this topic, enhancing graphics and animation with dotLottie. Before we get started, let me introduce myself. Hi, my name is Karen. I am a tech lead over at Lottie Files, and I'm here today to talk about motion. So I don't think I need to convince you guys why motion is important, because clearly you're all here because of the topic, right? Motion is now more prevalent than ever in everyday designs. You can see it in Google, Adobe, Samsung, Duolingo, etc., etc., and it's simply unavoidable. That's my here. And now the topic becomes Lottie versus Lottie Files. I want to ask you guys, what is the difference, and how many of you guys actually know what the difference is? To you guys, it's interchangeable, right? Not quite. So I'll go into a little bit, but that's a great guess. Okay, so a Lottie, you are spot on with a Lottie. A Lottie is basically an animation described. It's a format for an animation, essentially. Lottie Files, which is the company that I work at, is an animation platform. So we are a motion design platform for animations. We are currently used, here's just some stats. We're currently used by a bunch of brands, a bunch of designers and developers. We hope that everyone here will eventually become converts and join the cause. Our aim at Lottie Files is to enable motion across apps everywhere, right? So like I mentioned, Lottie Files is, oh, sorry. Oh, this doesn't work.
No, this is only for live stream.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't know. Okay, sorry, hi, can you guys hear me now? A little bit better? Okay, so where was I? Our aim at Lottie Files is to enable motion using Lotties, not GIFs, not anything else but Lotties. So as a platform, we aim to give you the tools to create Lotties, collaborate with your designers on Lotties, and then implement them within your web apps, your mobile apps, Canva, Framer, whatever it is, and ship it out. So like I said, we are here to enable a motion ecosystem. Lottie Files is here to enable a motion ecosystem. So in short, all the magic happens here, meaning to say Lottie Files. On the right side, you've got how your designers can actually create animations. And on the left side here, we've got how you guys as developers, and I'm making the assumption that you're all developers here, how you guys can actually go out and implement those same animations out there in your products. Because an animation doesn't have any real value, at least to me, unless it's in a product. So, gonna segue a little bit here. We've talked about Lottie. We've talked about Lottie Files. Now I'm gonna introduce a third concept here, a dotLottie. So if a Lottie is an animation described as a JSON, a dotLottie is basically a zip file containing lots of those Lotties. So you can contain multiple of those Lotties inside a single dotLottie. Some background here. A dotLottie is a lot smaller in size compared to a Lottie file, also known as a JSON. Feature parity, and essentially the dotLottie has more features than Lottie JSON. And I'll go into this a little bit deeper in a minute. So briefly speaking, we've got theming, multi-animations, and cross-platform expressions. But that doesn't mean anything to you guys right now yet, right? You guys are wondering what she's saying. Like, dotLottie, Lottie, you're just throwing words at me. But that's what the workshop is for. It's to kind of clarify and distinct between a Lottie, a dotLottie, and Lottie Files. So how can dotLottie help you? Some background here. Once upon a time, there was no dotLottie. There was only a Lottie file, a single animation described as text, saved as a JSON. To implement this in your app, you would have to use what we call players. You would implement, if you were using JavaScript, you use Lottie Web. If you were doing mobile, you would have to use Lottie Android, Lottie iOS. And this led to many different issues because this was 4 different repositories, many of them open source, that developers had to maintain. So I think as developers, we all know the more code, the more bugs. So this meant that 4 repositories, 4 times as many bugs. Visual consistency was an issue. Support parity was an issue. So this is just some background on the motivation behind introducing something like dotLottie. So now that we've introduced dotLottie, we at Lottie Files have rewritten the entire players. We have done it entirely in Rust now. We are relying on an open source rendering engine called dotVG, and the Rust player compiles into web, iOS, and Android, meaning to say all those issues we had before with 4 different repositories, 4 times the bugs, all those go away now because we're just managing one repository and compiling it across multiple platforms. All that to say, the dotLottie player now is a lot more reliable than using individual Lottie web repos and players. So just recapping really briefly, dotVG and dotLottie gives you feature parity, visual consistency, and much, much more features. Because now that we have control of the players, we actually can introduce way more features than Lottie was limiting us, Lottie the format. I don't need to sell you guys on this, on why file size matters. This is just a quick comparison of Lottie JSON versus a dotLottie. Faster response time, page load time, you know the drill. This is just some cool visuals that our designers cooked up. And here is, on the right side, you'll see the designers. On the left side, you see the developers. It's just a way of telling you guys that Lottie and dotLottie is the way forward for designers and developers both. Because even as developers, even if we say we want to push forward with it because of all those technical reasons, you still need a reason to convince your designer to go forward with this. So in today's workshop, we're going to be covering 3 simple concepts, right? One is the dotLottie players and implementation of it. We're just going to quickly go through a couple of code snippets. We can code along, or I'll share my screen as well so you can watch it along. Second would be event handling for simple interactions within the dotLottie player. And the third would be multiple themes for a single animation. Because with dotLottie, we've introduced something called theming, which is something that was previously unavailable on regular Lottie files. So there's a GitHub here, repo here, if you guys want to clone and code along. I don't think there's enough space for everyone without their laptop, so it's okay. I'll just share it separately. Cool. Give me a sec to set this up. Okay, so can you see my screen right now? So this is just a simple React app. And the first example we're going to go over is this is essentially a dotLottie player, right? This is a dotLottie animation, and all these player controls are custom React components, right? And if you're completely new to implementing a dotLottie player, you're wondering, how do I go about this? So if you take a look at the code snippets here, it's very, very simple. You set up a couple of event handlers, you register the event listeners for frame, play, pause, stop, complete, all the events, and then you actually implement them. The dotLottie repo itself comes with a ton of easy methods that you can call. So stuff. Sorry? Oh, yes. Is that better? Yes. All right.
Can you full screen?
Can I full screen? Okay. So where was I? So I'll just quickly go back again. I think most of you are probably very familiar with this. It's very simple React code. set up the event handler, set up the event listeners, don't forget to clean them up. And this is how you can implement something like this. You just have different buttons and the seek components and the loop, and then you actually have the dotLottie React component here. Ignore the div soup. This was a vibe code moment, so feel free to clone along and then take along as well. So now I also want to introduce themes. So this dotLottie, was created by one of the designers that we had and shared through the Lottie Files platform, right? So the way you can do that is, imagine you got something like this, you see it on the Lottie Files platform, you think it's really cool, and then you can generate like a CDN link, and then you would get something like this, and then you can just pop it in right here into the dotLottie React component. And that's how you would get something like this. Where was it? This. This doesn't come with themes baked in. So this is just a bare bones Lottie. For themes to be added in, your designer needs to go in and update it with themes, which, separate topic for another day, but just know that themes is possible to be done with dotLotties. And now I'm just going to uncomment a couple of these things to show you what the theme selector looks like. Okay. So that was just the theme component. And effect for handling the themes, controls. So all I did is enable this, and the themes itself is inside the actual dotLottie, right? So the developer actually has no need to know what's inside it. And then you can actually switch it on the fly here. So this is a very, very simple example of how it's actually implemented on the player. So I'm going to move on to the next example, if everyone's good with this one. All right. So the second one is also a very simple concept, to be honest with you. It just makes use of, I don't know why it's not working. Give me a second. Okay. Let's do the click one first. I'm not sure why the other one's not working. Okay, so what this one does is essentially a very similar concept, right? Now that I've introduced to you the concept of themes inside a Lottie file, inside a dotLottie file, same thing, set up your dotLottie React component, chuck in your Lottie file, simple as that. Can be a CDN link, can be actually baked inside your repo and then added in here as an array buffer. And then add a method to cycle through the themes. So all this does is, like I said, you don't actually have to expose the theme to the end user. All you have to do is actually just do it within code, right? Just set the theme, and then you can get something like this, just with a couple of simple mouse events. And there's also a hover demo. Oh, now it's working. I think it's just a browser thing. So same thing with the hover demo. Set up your React component. Where were we? Here we go. Set up your React component, set up your mouse events, mouse enter, mouse leave, and then based on that, you can set your theme accordingly. This is a very simple one, which is dark and light theme. And you can get something like this for landing pages or whatever use case that you have in mind. And the last one, because I know that we all need to convince our product owners whenever we make a tech change, is the most common use case that we see right now is the use of Lotties for 404s. So if you have something, if you want to spice up your 404 pages a little bit and you want to throw a theme in there, and then you're saying, hey, this isn't themable because now I need to have a billion other animations in it to make sure it works. Like I said, with theming, you can do something as simple as this. The code snippet's in here, but I'm sure we all know how to implement a 404 page. But same thing, just a React component, throw in the Lottie, and make use of the methods that are available to you. And I think that is pretty much it for the walkthrough. I don't know if anyone has any questions. Yeah.
Question about theme. Can I add custom color to Lottie file?
So as a developer, I would say you can go into the Lottie file and update it. But the easier way is probably to get your designer to update it and then share it back to you.
Can we do it in runtime?
Custom colors.
Yes, custom color.
That's a good question. Yes, actually, you can. So there is a concept called slots, right? So basically, each part of this animation, where is it? Each part of this animation, what's a good animation to use? Let's use this one, right? Each part of this animation can correspond to a layer, right, essentially. And with the concept of slots, and we can go into this a bit deeper because it's very specific. With the concept of slots, you can actually target each layer independently, and then at runtime, you can trigger those custom colors that you want according to each layer. Yes?
A couple of questions about the click one.
Yes.
Is there a programmatic way to know how many themes there are in a Lottie file?
Yes. So there is another package called dotLottie.js. We'll go into a little bit. Basically, it's a utility package which you can use to kind of like pluck out all the themes available, and then you can use that to display in a dropdown or to toggle, blah, blah, blah. But it's a programmatic way to kind of fetch the themes from the dotLottie itself, right?
And second question is, you can click anywhere on it because you have an on-click handler.
Yes.
You define certain areas, for example, like...
Anywhere else outside that, yeah.
No, like
Oh.
inside the actual Lottie animation. So for example, there's a light switch somewhere and you click that and that changes the theme. Like this Lottie has
Yeah.
X, Y,
So
coordinates.
we do have I'm going to go into that really quickly after this. So we do have that upcoming. You can't do that right now, but we can go into that a little bit deeper. So if there's nothing further for this specific like walkthrough thing, I'm just going to speed run through the rest of it so we can tackle some of those questions, I think. So coming back to this one then. So a couple of additional concepts that I wanted to talk about. So now that you know what a dotLottie is, and remember, all of that is achievable with the dotLottie player, right? If you were using the old Lottie player, one, slightly unreliable, two, you wouldn't have features such as theming because you can't, it simply isn't enabled in the old Lotties. Concept of multi-animations is one, meaning to say, we didn't even go through that in the walkthrough, right? What we had was a single animation with multiple themes. With dotLotties, you can actually toggle animations rather than toggle the themes. And we have a code pen here if you guys are also interested in doing that. Something like this, right? So this is a single Lottie, and it's a single player, but that contains multiple Lottie animations inside it. And you can toggle between them if you wanted to. The second concept was state machines, and I'll go through that a little bit as well. It is upcoming. It's not out just yet. As a developer, there are ways and hacks you can go around it, and I'll share the resources as well. But that would pretty much achieve exactly what you're saying. So what that is something like this. Depending on your mouse clicks, you can rotate between state machines. Let me just show you what the code actually looks like here. So there are transitions and there are states that were previously defined. And then depending on what you select, it toggles between the states and it transitions between them smoothly. But like I said, this isn't currently available just yet. It's still in beta, so do it at your own risk. I would say it's not production ready at the moment. But there are some really cool things to do if you want to take a look at it. So this is what it looks like when you've got multiple states, and the states defined, and what the state machines actually look like. But like I said, this still in beta, not quite ready yet, so take that with a grain of salt. And finally, I wanted to touch a little bit on the dotLottie utility tools. There is a library called dotLottie.js. It's linked inside the repo as well, if you want to take a look at it, where you can merge multiple animations in one dotLottie, because today there's no easy way of doing that for a developer, for a designer. So as a developer, you guys can have it in your control of merging multiple lotties into one dotLottie. And secondly, like you said, fetch themes programmatically. You can also do things like slots, meaning to say, change the colors at runtime. So all those things and more you can do with the utility tools. Like, it just depends on your imagination at that point. So the tools are there. It's just how well you can make use of them, I would say. So we've gone through a couple of these. And finally, might not be a right forum for these people, but like I said, you can also use it for mobile. There's a couple of snippets here for Android and iOS, as well as React Native, I believe. Yeah. Let's have a more lengthy Q&A, because I was expecting to be a code long. Yeah.
So I've used a tool called Drive before, and I see a lot of similarities here, especially with like the state machine stuff that you showed me. In terms of, I guess, how to differentiate or how to think about the two, what are your...
So I think, oh, that's a spicy question. Rive has its own use case, right? Because I think Rive has a very strong foothold in the gaming industry, and we're just getting started with interactivity, to be very honest with you. We've primarily focused on ease of use, micro animations, things like that. So the barrier to entry to a Lottie file is significantly, at least in my opinion, significantly lower. Like, pop in a player, pop in a Lottie file, and you're done. With Rive, you have to kind of understand like runtimes and things like that, and how to integrate it into your app. I think the sell for a product owner is a little higher there. That's how I would say I would differentiate this. Yeah. Yes.
I work with Lottie at work, and we're about to be asked to do a scroll through animation. Any chance you have any examples?
Yes. Give me a second. Ugh. I don't have it off the top of my head, but there is a link that I can send you. Give me a second. So this one's a little bit outdated. It's a bit older, but something like this, right? There is a guide to this. There is an older interactivity library. I would say update it with the latest dotLottie player. Right now, we haven't quite updated the documentation just yet, but the code is still very much relevant in terms of like setting scroll events and then changing the Lottie. Like, this is basically just seeking the frame, right? So as the scroll happens, you seek the frame. That's one way you can do it. You can also do, as the scroll happens, once you reach a certain point, trigger to a different segment. That's another concept that we can talk about. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
I can add this link in the repo as well. Any more? Yes.
Can you talk about like the governance structure, or like is Lottie and dotLottie, are they open source, or like are they an open standard, or what's your company's relationship with that, like governance?
Okay. Great question. Let's talk about that. Let me go back to where were we? Here we go. So Lottie is an open source format, right? And so is Lottie is an open source format today, led by, or at least primarily governed by what's called the Lottie animation community. There's a couple of key people in there. Lottie Files is one of those people, along with a couple of other key players in the Lottie industry. And their main goal is to make sure that this open source format thrives. because with all open source things, if there's no support from the community, it kind of just dies off. So that's what LAC is meant to do. Having said that, dotLottie has been a format that is championed by Lottie Files, the company. But the players here, the dotLottie Rust player, is open source. We do have people internally managing it, but the community is also free to open PRs, and if they find any issues, they can raise it directly there. Same with ThorVG. ThorVG is the underlying renderer under the hood. ThorVG is also currently open source. You can go to thorvg.org, take a look at the resources, and same thing. We are open for community improvements there as well. So dotLottie Rust is built on top of ThorVG. dotLottie Rust compiles over to the different players. And I don't know if that answers your question on governance, but in terms of like pushing features, Lottie itself, open source, open to, how do I phrase this? Lottie itself is open source and community-led, but with dotLottie, every feature we introduce is depending on, is championed by Lottie Files. So I think that's the distinction that we have to make there. Yeah. Yes?
I don't know if it's going to be the right parallel, but this is a topical slide. There was different players that were specific for iOS, for Android, whatever. And so if Lottie Files is React, and then dotLottie is kind of like React Native, where you build it together, but then you can do it on iOS and Android and web. But are there, I guess the question is, sometimes it's better to go directly to Swift to write an iOS app for some of the performance reasons there. And so the question is like, the Rust compiler that compiles the iOS, are you losing out on any performance or anything device specific if you're not going with like specific layers for those devices?
So they do compile to specific layers. I see what you're saying, right? Like React Native versus React natively has differences. I wouldn't say you're losing out on anything in terms of performance. In fact, I think because we have the resources to push behind this is a lot more maintained than the native ones, right? And again, because this is dotLottie players, they support dotLotties. So a dotLottie player can play both dotLottie animations as well as Lottie animations, versus the Lottie players cannot play dotLottie animations. They can only play Lottie animations, which means you don't get theming, you don't get multi-animations, things like that. Having said that, there will be some differences. There will be some instances where Lottie Web as a player supports more things, for example. It's few and far between, but we have all the resources on the website as well. We've done our best to document the differences, and then it becomes up to the developer themselves, like which is the best move for you. But in terms of the industry, what we are over at Lottie Files are trying to recommend, like our recommended way is to use the dotLottie supported players. Yes?
Is there any way to use Lottie Files without Lottie player? So maybe it's possible to compile it in one small GS code?
You would need the player. Yeah, because essentially you need to, what the player is basically is a canvas component, and then you're loading it in, right? You're rendering and everything. There is no way to play a Lottie without a Lottie player, unfortunately. But what's the specific use case that you had in mind?
If I have small animations, very small, and not so much animations, and I don't want to load the whole player. I want only a couple places and.
So I think hello? I think the weight, if the concern is like the weight of the player itself, all the more reason to go with the Rust player because, sorry, not the Rust player, the Rust compiled players, because the footprint of it is actually fairly small compared to the older players. So you would just have to import it one time and then use it in different spaces if that's your concern. Like it doesn't really impact bundle size that much, if that's a concern. But I think it depends on the product itself. Sorry, we used to have one here which compared the bundle sizes. We don't have that now. but happy to share, like happy to have a conversation on this separately. Yeah. Yes.
Sorry for all the questions.
No worries.
What's the browser support like, and what's the situation with fallbacks? Like, let's say, for example, if it's like a fairly large lottie, let's say, you would want to have something in place that's loading, while it's fetching all the data, similar to how you have like image placeholders that are smaller in size. Is there a pattern like that for dotLottie?
Not officially. I think right now, today, we still depend on the developers to, like when you're developing your own app, you have to kind of add your own fallbacks. Very similar to even today, if you had an image component and you don't add an alt, you still don't gain all the benefits of like accessibility and things like that, right? So, but that's a good point. Like that's something I'll raise. Very, very good feedback. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yes.
You said that on web it compiled to a canvas.
Yes.
Is there a reason to do that over SVG?
Sorry?
Like why wouldn't you rather compile like
To a canvas?
with animation?
I think there's two. Sorry, I don't quite understand the question.
Like
Maybe.
instead of creating a canvas, couldn't you create an SVG with embedded animations instead? And that's like more flexible because you can like attach event handlers to like individual elements, right, in the SVG.
You could, and I think that was at least with the approach with the previous Lottie web players. You could actually swap out the renderer. There's a canvas renderer and an SVG renderer. I just quickly go through. Where's that player slide? So with the older Lottie players, you were actually able to do exactly what you're saying. Decide whether you want to use a canvas renderer or an SVG renderer. There were many discussions that went into this, to be honest. And I don't think I'm the right person to completely explain all of that, but I am happy to link you to the right people to answer that question to you. Yeah, sorry. Yes.
Last question. As a developer, what are some good resources to learn about how to create Lottie animations from scratch?
So we have an education page on Lottie Files that kind of give you like the introduction of creating an animation. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
If you need us to hold the microphone for you, if you need to hide hand.
Oh, no. It's fine. Don't worry. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry. Your question was resources on how to create an animation. So if you're a developer that's just getting started with it, one of the easiest ways to create an animation today is probably with Figma. You can do transitions and you can export an animation straight from there. We also have a creator out. It's kind of like the introduction to animations, essentially, right? And then from there, export an animation and then do it all. I would recommend the education page from Lottie Files, just because there's a ton of ways to do it. And depending on your choice of product, whether you're more comfortable in something like Figma, AE, or like the creator, right? Whether you want to learn from scratch. So all the resources are kind of here. There's YouTube playlists, Vimeo playlists. Yeah. Yes?
So you showed the file size of the Lottie and the dotLottie. How did you achieve such a big difference in terms of file size?
So one major one is, just to be honest, let me get that slide for you. This one is to compare with a GIF, so it doesn't look as drastic. But we've got this one, right? We're between 1 MB and 150 KB. That's a huge, huge difference. We worked a little bit on our zipping strategy and how to compress the JSON into a dotLottie. I think that was one of the ways they did it. And other than that, it's just the JSON file itself, like the Lottie JSON has a ton of potentially unused or duplicated stuff in it. So we've optimized that and kind of like removed what's redundant. So if you look at the platform also, you can see there's many different formats, right? There's a regular dotLottie and there's something called optimized dotLottie. So an optimized dotLottie further like strips down any unnecessary meta when it's downloaded. So there is like I said, there is the dotLottie JS, the utility tools. So you can kind of play around, and if you want to further optimize, you can see what else you can do from there. But Lottie Files as a platform is trying to make it as accessible as possible. So if you go to the platform, you can just download a dotLottie versus a JSON, and it kind of does the heavy lifting for you. But the open source tools are available as well. Yeah.
And about these sizes in previous page.
Yes.
The first size is compressed version of JSON Lottie or uncompressed?
Uncompressed. Yeah.
So it can be compressed by default web tools, and
yeah.
Difference will be not so significant.
Yeah, but you have to do the heavy lifting. Like I said, you have to like compress it yourself, trim it out a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, usually it's
yes.
can be done by
other tools. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
So you made a comparison to a GIF or a GIF. What about something like an MP4? Because like I'm assuming they don't weigh as much when there's something along the lines of this.
No, that's valid. That's valid. I think it depends on your use case, right? The choice to use GIFs versus something like MP4 as well. We've chosen GIF as a comparison here because most of the people who were using micro animation, not necessarily just micro animations, but trying to introduce animations, they were, at the time when we made the slide, they were using GIFs, right? I understand what you're saying. Like you could compare it with a WebP or something like that, and the difference wouldn't be as drastic. Yeah, I don't really have an answer to that, but you're right, absolutely right. There are other options out there other than GIFs. I think if you took a look at the platform also, there are other formats that are available for download on the platform, depending on your preference. I see it in your eyes. You got one more question for me? Any more? Yes.
For the platform, you can add it further as a platform or not?
Flutter? I actually do not know, to be very honest with you. Let me check that real quick. To be honest with you, I'm not sure. I'll have to get back to you on that one. Okay. I think if there's nothing else, we can wrap this one up then. Are we a bit earlier?
Yeah, we're a lot earlier. So we have lots of time.
Oh, no.
Questions. Looks like we have a lot, already got answers to your questions. But give 2 more minutes if you have any.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, there's one over there.
Yes.
Can you just talk about a little about your company and what the company does?
Okay. Yeah, I speed ran through that because I figured I wanted to talk a little bit more about dotLottie rather than Lottie Files. But you're right. So like I mentioned earlier, Lottie Files, we are a company championing the Lottie file format, essentially. We started off with championing the Lottie file format. We started off being a marketplace where you could easily access Lottie files, hence the name. And that slowly evolved into, we want to enable the users of the platform to create their animations as well. So now that you've got all these Lottie files, previously, once upon a time, the only way you could create a Lottie file is through After Effects. And most designers, only motion designers were using After Effects, but product designers wouldn't, right? And we wanted to enable micro animations across all web stuff. So that's kind of when we introduced the Figma plugin. We introduced a ton of other plugins, a ton of other integrations, and that was the beginning of Lottie Files. And then we introduced a platform for people to collaborate on it. So that's the one that I've been showing here. So this is kind of the platform where you your designers would be able to upload their animations here, and then we as developers can just kind of download it here and then you reuse it across your web apps. So that was our next focus. And then finally, the last bit of it is the implementation, which is the actual players part of it. So as a company, I would say we are a platform. We want to tackle all 3 different things, and we have been releasing a ton of different products across these 3 different pipelines, essentially. So if there's anything you need to manipulate a Lottie or to create a Lottie, you should be able to do it with something that Lottie Files provides. That's the goal, at least for the company. Yeah.
So like your business is basically, it's like Figma, you have like seats for developers, designers, you charge by the month, that kind of thing.
So that's for the platform specifically, right? How we are currently limiting it based on how many files you can download a month. And also, I think, like I said earlier, we started off as a marketplace, which means that we do have pro animations here. So let's say you don't have a designer, but you want to just use some cool Easter animations. You just want to quickly download something. So you can get something off that's free, but you can also like find the ones that's premium that you really like and then pay for it and use that. That's an option as well.
And if I'm a designer, I can sell.
You can sell your animations. Yeah, exactly. It's a two-way marketplace for the platform at least. But there's many different, Lottie Files as a company touches many different areas across the entire pipeline. So like I said, from the enterprise stuff all the way to the open source stuff. Yes?
It almost sounds like from your description, you're closer in business model to Cricut, the vinyl cutting software, where you have like a marketplace of or designs that people who subscribe can like download for certain amounts of money or like certain limitations depending on their tier of subscription. Is that accurate? Like in your experience, you know?
That's one part of it, right? Like that's the marketplace part of it. But to be honest, that hasn't been our focus for the longest time. Our focus has been making sure that you as a designer, you can actually create new animations, and then as a developer, you can download them and implement them. And most of our efforts have been going into that rather than the marketplace, the two-way marketplace. Yeah. But you're right. When it comes to marketplace, I think we are closer in that. Like you have different tiers of animations. Yes.
Is there a conversion tool for taking animated GIFs and just turning them into Lottie?
From what format?
From animated GIFs. We do.
We have a SVG to Lottie Files converter as well. Fairly beta, I would say, but as in results may vary, but the tools are out there for you to use. Yes. I think the biggest limitation that we've had with those sort of converters is that the resulting file size tends to be very large, which you would be able to do it, but then at what cost? Yeah. Yes?
Is it possible to use dotLottie in a 3JS project?
I actually do not know, to be honest with you. I think if there's a way you can embed a dotLottie player inside it, I think you can. Inside a 3JS layer, you can have a dotLottie player and then add it in. Theoretically, I think it's doable. Yeah. Yes.
So when I display, I can't help myself, but like with the motion, I think about React motion. Do you think is it a good idea to make maybe a UI library just with Lottie or something like that, since it's easier to make it with the motion? And it hasn't gone down in maybe.
No, that's a great idea. I think hasn't been floated yet within the company. I'll definitely push up that feedback. Thank you for that. Yeah. Cool.
Great. If you have no more questions, we can give Karine a rest.
Yeah, I'll be around. I think a lot of these questions, to be honest with you, we prepared this for a introductory session and a code along session. So I was not expecting some pretty power users here, like the Rive users, etc., etc. I'll be happy to go in depth on more questions and like show you the resources as well. I'll just be around here. Feel free to hop into a chat with me. Cool.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Oh, sorry. I thought this was for the audio as well.
Yeah, something we should improve. All right, I forgot to put my laptop in, but thank you so much for the patience and for having some really good questions. We have the space until 9 p.m. After that, the doors close and you have to be out. There's still some food left in the kitchen. I'm not sure about the drinks, but you're on your own. Feel free to hang around, chat with us, chat with Kareen. If you have any questions for us as Toronto.js, I would love to answer. I would love to also have your submissions as a speaker, right? So if you have any experience on working with some part of technology that you want to share with us or other people, we would love to have you submit a TED Talk speaker submission. If you haven't spoken before publicly, I can help you train. I'm not great, but still. There are a bunch of others in the organizing team who can help you become a public speaker. So never be afraid of the fact that, oh, how will I speak? I freeze in front of people. I used to do that too. So yes, please become a speaker. Help us host these events like these. We try to do it every month, but sometimes if we don't have speakers, we have to push it a little further. But yeah, please become a speaker. If you have a workshop in mind, let us know. You could be a student, you could be a senior. Trust me, there's always something that we can learn from you. Okay, so the forms are on our website. We have a Slack. You can feel free to reach out to me and ask any questions. TorontoJS.com in case you want to join our Slack, become a speaker, volunteer, or just hang around in different channels. Okay, so thanks a lot for a good night, and feel free to go into the kitchen, eat whatever pizza is left and the drinks and do networking, but please be out by 9. Okay, thank you so much.